Hello, welcome. It's Tuesday, April 25th, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. Welcome to Community Conversations. My name is Ethan. I'll be your host this evening. If you're just joining us, please say hi. Let us know where you're from. As always, we'd like to take a couple minutes to let people get in, get situated. The cats are in the office tonight, so I'm not exactly sure what's going to be happening. Callie is staring at something. I don't know what she's staring at. I don't know if there's like an ant on the wall or a bug. Usually that's it. But it's entertaining. Whatever it is, it's crazy entertaining right now. So we'll see what happens. Bonnie is asleep in the chair next to me, so hopefully she'll be good. Anyway, hey Mike, hey Dave, hey Vanessa, hi Katerina, Robert Spence in the house. Saw you speak in 2016 at a place on or near Waugh Drive. Powerful testimony. Wonder where that was. 2016. Was that the road trip with Liz McInvale? I'm glad you decided to watch. Amy, Eric in his house. I don't know why I just said that. There's my mother. Hi, Liz, who I haven't spoken to in a couple days. Deleuze is in the house. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate that. We have about 30, 45 more seconds before we get rolling. So have a great stream, guys. I'm away tonight. All right. Thank you, John. Yeah, thoughts, helpful. Let us know you're here and where you're from. We've got another few seconds before we get rolling tonight. But I hope everyone is doing, hey, Amy, I hope everyone is doing lovely this evening. As I was saying at the beginning, my cats are in the room, which is could be good or bad, just depending. Bonnie is asleep here, and Callie is right there. You can barely catch her. She's sleeping in the sun. Hi. Anyway, so we'll see if they tend to get involved later in the evening. So we shall see. Oh, Liz and her family spoke there as well. Okay. Yes. Robert, I know exactly. Okay, yeah, that was the road trip that we did with the spokespeople at the time, and Liz and I spoke in Houston, and thank you, I appreciate that. That was a fun time. Yes, the cats have chosen the theme, embrace the uncertainty, especially for those of you that were with me when I was talking about self-compassion, and my cat Bonnie proceeded to lick her butt, and I didn't know it. So it's maybe the best live stream I've ever done. Definitely the most entertaining. With that, let's get through some housekeeping and then we can jump into some conversation. So my name is Ethan. I'm a national advocate for the International OCD Foundation. This community conversation is intended to serve educational content and is not intended to replace therapy, mostly because I'm not a clinician. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The International Foundation is the International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. If you're in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room. You can call 911 or the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988. We want to create a safe space and be kind and respectful to everyone. At the end of the day, we're all here to support one another. And I know this is being broadcast on several social media platforms and is being recorded. So always keep that in mind as we discuss very personal things. And with that, let's roll. I think we're doing good. We're like at 4 minutes in and 4 minutes past the hour. So we're perfectly on time. We've got Amanda behind the scenes doing her thing. So first of all, how is everyone doing tonight? How is your weekend? How is your week going so far? How are you all? We'll let that percolate a minute. As always, too, if you have questions, you can just start asking right away, and we can dive in. And as always, I'll probably jump into some stories and things like that as well. Hello, Shudong. Good to see you. It's definitely been an interesting time. Been challenging, but great. Thank God. How it has been. I was about to say that, Vanessa. It's been challenging. Good, but worry when good. For real. So sorry, Ethan. I'm overstepping with this one tonight. Oh, you can overstep, Kayli. Let it. Oh, Was your comment before overstepping or the comment to come? Either way, feel free to overstep. So yes, it has been a challenging time, um, for sure. I find in and around birthdays are challenging. I had my birthday on April 2nd. Katie had hers on the 5th. I think we've definitely talked since then. I know Katie and I obviously did a stream last week, and then before that we did a Just Ethan. Hey, Nikki Bradley, Dublin in the house. Um, but yeah, this time of year is always challenging, especially as you get older, you start reflecting and things pop up. So I feel you, and I love that Cash wrote good, but worry when good. Yeah, we call that foreboding joy in our house when things are good. When things are bad, we want things to be good, and when things are good, we're waiting for things to be bad or dreading when those things happen. And so I totally relate to the good and worrying when they're good and trying to be in the moment, trying to be in the moment when they're good. So I definitely relate to that. And Kayla, you're not overstepping by asking how I am doing. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm feeling challenged. I think there's a lot of um, new things in my life, and they're all good. And I think that it's a perfect example of how, whether it's OCD or anxiety or general anxiety, or it's not all OCD for sure, but I think that when things change for good or bad, in general, mental illness can get challenging, especially for me around things feel more at stake because things are good, right? And so when they feel more at stake, catastrophic thinking and intense feelings of dread and just general anxiety can really start to um, grab a hold. Definitely when you're afraid of losing the things that you've worked hard to get, and so I find myself sort of in that place right now, where some days are way more challenging than others, but in general, the challenge is a bit more challenging than usual. Although, interestingly enough, and to Cash's point, it was very similar around this time last year, and yeah, and Cash wrote New Year's gets me, and birthdays, and I agree. I really struggle with birthdays. People love their birthdays. I do not. I do not like my birthday. Um, I really struggle with it. It brings up a lot of stuff for me, which I'm happy to dive into, but I relate to that. Um, Continuing on, no, you are not overstepping, as I said, and thank you for asking how I'm doing. Overall, I always feel good when I'm here with you all. So thanks for letting me be here, and thanks for being here to support all of us. Amy wrote, "Doing well. The house hasn't received any flood water, so that's good. That's fantastic. Good to hear that for sure." Chad Talley's in the house. Chad, I hope you're doing well. Um, Oh my gosh, Kayla, I didn't see you promoting the Faith and OCD conference, but you can totally promote the Faith and OCD conference. A, it's an amazing conference. B, I'll talk about links and how you can register at the end of the stream. And C, it's put on by one of my favorite human beings, my fiance. So no, never. But anything promoting anything the IOCDF does is never an overstep. So you're totally good, Kayla, for sure. Maryland, South Louisiana. Hey, it's good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, Vanessa wrote, "I just started starving compulsions." I like that. Wait, starving compulsion. Sorry, I meant at first I thought you meant like you were starving the compulsions by not compulsing, but then I thought you might mean you're like engaging in compulsions that involve starving yourself. So maybe clarify before I like clap and go, good job. Um, Cats are exactly. Duluth feels me on that one. Right now, I'm doing well as well. I'm a month out of McLean, but I'm terrified of slipping back and needing to go back. Great, not question, but question. So let's dive into that a second, Katerina, if that's okay. So first of all, and hi, I hope I get this right. Nakibula Azizi, thank you for joining from Afghanistan. Um, and if it's your first time, welcome. We look forward to talking with you. So at 7:09 p.m., Katerina writes, "Right now I'm doing well, as I'm a month out of McLean, but I'm terrified of slipping back and needing to go back." And that's so common and not unusual at all. First of all, congrats on working your way through residential and treatment, whether it was residential or intensive outpatient. But either way, and I know that in and of itself was probably an intense challenge and something that was one of the harder things that you've done. I'm optimistic because you said you're terrified of slipping back, which means that you made progress. So congratulations, that's fantastic. So one of the things that I took a lot of comfort in, and it'll be a good reminder for me today, is this idea of what we have control over and what we don't have control over. And in regards to OCD specifically, you know, the thoughts are involuntary. They're going to come in and out, and they can get really intense, and the obsessions and things like that. And our feelings to those thoughts are also involuntary. The discomfort around those thoughts and what we feel, but that desire to eliminate those feelings and not feel that anxiety is a choice, and you probably learned that, right? The choice to focus on the obsession, the choice to engage in the compulsion, and it doesn't always feel like a choice. It definitely does not always feel like a choice, and especially before you've had treatment. I don't think you most even know it was a choice. It feels, I know I didn't, felt like I just can't do these things. I'm not choosing to, it's just, I can't. I think there's a lot of power in understanding what we have control over in these four things: thoughts, feelings, no; focus, behavior, yes. What does that mean? Well, what we know is that it takes two things to sort of, for OCD to really grab a tight hold and then continue to hold on and grow stronger. It's the obsession, sure, but the compulsions are really the piece that reinforce the obsessions and the icky feelings. And if we don't engage in the compulsions, and as you've probably experienced through treatment, the obsessions start to quiet down, right? So that's a really good thing. And that's the benefit of doing exposure and response prevention. The more we resist the compulsions, the more we embrace the uncertainty, the more we say, bring it on with the uncomfortable feelings and do things that are associated with our values, that those loud obsessions start to get softer and softer and become whispers, or hopefully just die out completely, right? The fear then is, oh my God, it will come back, or I don't have total control, or, all of those things. And I think that's totally understandable and realistic. I think the real power is to understand is that we have to choose to compulse, right? I have to make a conscious effort to give in. I'm not saying that that's easy to do or not do. I engaged in a compulsion last week that was pretty substantial, actually, and I gave myself a lot. I felt a lot of shame and guilt for it, honestly, because it'd been a long, long time since I had engaged in a compulsion that large, and why I could sit here and say, oh my gosh, I'm starting to relapse. The reality of it is it was one compulsion, and it would take me a number of compulsions over and over again over many days and weeks to even get close to where I was before, or even months or years. So I'm rambling. I apologize for that. But the gist of what I'm saying is, take comfort in knowing that the relapse prevention piece of OCD and the treatment is that ERP works for any subtype or symptom, because OCD is OCD is OCD, right? Even though it doesn't always feel like that. And by not engaging in the compulsions and continuing to be willing to sit with the discomfort and uncertainty and all of those things, that will continue to put the fire out on those obsessions and those really loud thoughts, and you will stay right where you need to be. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me see here. Let's see if Vanessa clarified. Okay, I meant starving the compulsions by not falling into them as usual. I'm not starving. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and that's what I thought you meant initially, but then I was like, oh, I don't want to like reinforce this idea of like starving. Yeah, absolutely. Starve the compulsions, and starve the thoughts. The thoughts want the feelings want the compulsions, and it's the cycle. We starve any one of those things, especially the things that we have a choice over, and the compulsions and the obsessions start to get quieter and quieter. And I always struggle to like talk about it because it's so easy to say, and it can be so hard to do. Um, so so yeah, but absolutely correct. Um, Maryland, shout out to South LA. All right, cool. Oh, hey, Michelle. Good to see you. I'm down for Michelle shout outs always. Um, Chad Talley wrote at 7:14. Hey, Selwyn. Wow. The man from down under makes an appearance. My friend from Australia. It's good to see you. How are you? As always, and I always reiterate this, if you have questions, anything you want to talk about, anything on your mind, please feel free to weigh in and ask. But I know we're already deep in the conversation. But anything you want to talk about is an open, as safe space as we can make it to talk all things OCD and related disorders, or you can just hear me ramble about things that I'm going through, or we may relate to each other. So, but I'm going to read Chad's a comment because he usually has some really good insight. So Chad wrote at 7:14 p.m. a few weeks ago, I was experiencing a psychosis OCD flare-up. I have since learned the county I live in seems to be an OCD treatment desert. There's a lot of talk therapy, but no one I've reached out to practices ERP. I've had to reach out to places I found on the IOCDF site that are about an hour and a half away and try and find one willing to televisit. Thankfully, with doing ERP and CBT myself, it didn't last long. I'm glad to hear that. And I think that OCD flare-ups can be really intense. And I think with virtual therapy, we can access therapists that are in our state or licensed in our state, no matter where you are. I don't know if you were able to access anyone, Chad, and obviously, hit me up and I can help you connect with some folks if that's something you still need help with. I think that at the end of the day, navigating OCD, the best thing we can do is be our own therapist, which is what we're always told. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't go to therapy. I've been going. In fact, I had my therapy last week. Was my therapist reminded me it was our 600th session. I've been seeing her since 2011, and then I proceeded to do the math and remind her of what I've spent since. and then she thanked me for sending her child to college. So no, she didn't thank me, but it was fun math. Anyway, I think that goes to tell you, though, like how powerful, our own treatment and the skills and tools that we have can be when we choose to utilize them. And it can be so hard in a tough moment, for sure. It can be so easy to get wrapped up in the moment, whatever's grabbing us at the time. I know for me, it was last week. I really just didn't want anything but certainty around what I was experiencing, and chose to ignore skills and tools, right? Sit with the uncertainty. So I definitely relate, but I'm glad that your skills and tools, Chad, helped you along the way. And hopefully there are also other people that you can reach out to for support, not just therapists, and online support groups and things like that, where you can continue to get the support that you need, even if it's just from other individuals who lived experience. It's a really amazing community. But I'm glad to hear you're feeling better, Chad. So thanks for sharing that with us. Vanessa at 7:17 p.m. said, what's one reason you aren't too fond of your birthday, if you don't mind answering that? It's a good question. So for me, I mean, I obviously loved it as a kid. I think, and I will preface by saying that a lot of what I feel on my birthday is probably a cognitive distortion. It's my own issues, right? So I don't perceive this as fact, and I don't regret where I am at all. In fact, I'm so excited. But I think that birthdays tend to cause me to reflect on getting older, which scares me, and reflect on where would I have been if OCD hadn't impacted my life, where I should be, what I'd be doing, wishing I were doing what I'm doing now, but 10 years earlier, instead of being 45 in here, being 35 in here. And not all of this makes any sense, in the sense that I'm here because of culmination of my actions and who I am, and all of the things that led me to this point is right what made me. So, but I tend to get really existential and reflective about that, and I recognize what it is, and I recognize what I'm thinking. And I mean, listen, you know how excited I am about where I am in life and what I'm doing, and marrying Katie. And I mean, I wouldn't want anything else. Katie's 33. I'm 45. On my birthday, I was like, why can't I be 35? Why couldn't I have met her and been right? All this stuff that isn't true, and we don't know how anything would have played out. So but around my birthday, I start to have those thoughts and feelings, which are completely valid. So that's just kind of what I start thinking about. Um, the difference though is I don't let myself get stuck in the past, or what could have happened, or what I think could have happened, or where it could have been. You know, and thank you. Um, and I'm actually glad. I'm glad you were just diagnosed, Angela. That's huge. I'm not suggesting that 45 is too old or right. I'm just like relating it to my life and where I saw myself being, and I never saw myself. Um, I never saw myself in this place right now. In 10 years ago, I never would have guessed I'd be doing this, advocating in this way, being in the business that am in, being engaged to my person. That never even seemed like, a scenario that would have been my life. And so it isn't about regret, it's just the natural thoughts that come up, I guess, when a birthday comes up and you start reflecting. So yeah, I've never been super fond of birthdays just for that reason. And at the same time, I will tell you that, for our birthday, Katie and I went out of town. We had a great trip. We celebrated each other. We celebrated our relationship. We celebrated everything to come. So, by no means did me having these thoughts and feelings dictate what I did or how I enjoyed my time. It was still challenging, but we did meaningful, value driven things. So hopefully that's making sense. I'm seeing some interesting comments, so I'm curious to what people are saying. Let's see here. I think Lola said something that I'm really interested to get into. Hey, Ethan, thanks for your suggestions last week with talking to my in-laws. I feel like we're all on the same page. Me and my diagnosis, I'm sometimes scared if people are going to see me different. Oh, well, okay. That's awesome. I'm so excited to hear that, Lola. I'm so glad that some of the suggestions paid off. We have a town hall coming up on May 2nd. I think it's May 2nd. We're going to, the whole conversation is going to be on addressing with friends and family, and parents that may not, or family members and friends that maybe not, understand what we're going through. And so, but I'm so excited to hear that you're on the same page. And I think it's okay to be scared that people are going to see you differently. I think you don't need the funny thing about what I was talking about the birthday thing is I don't think you need OCD, and I have so many friends that don't have a mental illness that get off social because they're constantly comparing themselves to where their friends are. Or, my friend's already owns a house and has 3 kids and a white picket fence, and I'm here like living check to check. Like we all, it's kind of in our nature to compare, and grass is greener and sort of things. I wouldn't change a thing. I love where I am. And it doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to reflect and have thoughts that make me feel a certain way. But I think it's okay to be scared that people are going to see you differently. And if people do, that's okay too. The best you can do is be your best self, whatever that looks like. And it's not even important that they necessarily understand you, unless it's someone you want to understand you. But it's not. We don't owe anyone explanations. We don't owe. Um, y- it only matters if it's somebody that you care about and you value. Beyond that, people misunderstanding you, who cares what other people think? Now I say that, and I very much care what other people think. Um, as I'm sitting here second guessing everything I'm saying to you, so I feel you. Um, but I think that's inherent in our own disorder. That are people? What are people going to think? Um, in regards to OCD, uh, at least OCD, when I started advocating, I sort of just let go. I stopped caring what people thought about me, about my OCD, and what it meant, or what it meant for me as a person. I just cared about helping others, and that was the whole motivation for me speaking out and not caring what people thought, talking about being in a psychiatric hospital, talking about um, you know the worst days of my life, showing videos of me incredibly sick. It was really just about what could I do to support the community and help people like us get help sooner, faster, quicker, so we can lead really meaningful, value-driven, beautiful lives that we deserve. Um, and so, but I know that it's really hard when there's loved ones and people that you care about that you feel like don't understand you, and that you want them to understand you. They want you, and you want them to know that, you are not disordered. OCD doesn't make up who you are. You're a beautiful individual that's unique and special, not your OCD. And how do we get that information across? So I think everybody in this room can relate to some extent, to being scared that people are going to see you differently. And it's no different if you're a person of color, or diverse faith background, or gender, or sexual. Why can't I think of the word? But your sexual orientation. I think we're all nervous to be perceived as different, when I think we live in a world where everyone's different. So don't let the assholes win. That's my quote for tonight. All right. I don't know what we're talking about right now. I'm super lost, but it sounds like a really good conversation. Did I miss something? I must have missed something. I don't know, but Cash is into it. So, scrolling on, 7:22 p.m. Robert wrote, I agree with you that you said about compulsions. I think of ERP as being like rope-a-dope, counterintuitive skill where you let OCD wear itself out instead of letting it wear you out. Yeah, that's great. Wait, who told you I was screaming on a jet ski? Oh, did Katie say that during our stream? I screamed out of happiness, not fear. Let's get that very clear. I was just excited to go fast. It was like more of a like, woo, yeah, not maybe one of those, but that's it. Yeah, look, OCD is this really weird counterintuitive thing where your brain, which you trust because it's your brain, is screaming at you to be careful and do these things, because if you don't, it's irresponsible. So our goal in regards to OCD only is to be as irresponsible as we possibly can and not do the things that our brain is telling us to do. And not taking action is really hard. Sitting there and letting things play out can be a really scary experience, and it can be without OCD. What happened recently? Something happened recently where we just kind of let things play out. We didn't try to control the situation, and it was a perfect 3 days, and things worked the way they were supposed to work. And it's really hard to be hands off. But that's a great explanation. So I like that, Robert. Thank you. Angela at 7:23 p.m. wrote, can you talk about mental compulsions rituals? Yeah, for sure. So, we hear a lot about physical compulsions, and that can range from checking, hand washing, tapping, moving things in a certain way, walking, sitting certain ways, right? Anything physical. So a mental compulsion is something that isn't physical, that's done inside of your head, but it's to undo the icky feeling that you have. And there's a wide variety of mental compulsions, ranging from distraction, rewinding, repeating, reviewing, like looking back on your day, trying to relive the conversations, make sure you said something that wasn't offensive, trying to remember something a certain way to make sure it went down exactly. My nose always itches during this live stream. But in its simplest point, in its simplest form, and I love this example. It wasn't my own, but I'm going to steal it. A mental compulsion is this. If you're constantly having the obsession, John, if that name keeps coming up in your head over and over and over again, and every time you think the word John, you get a terrible feeling, you get a lot of anxiety, right? So to get rid of that, you think the word Jack. So Jack, 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 right? John is the obsession. Jack is the mental compulsion. And we're saying Jack to undo John, to undo the feeling. And that's it in its simplest form, is what are you doing as a mental compulsion or ritual to find certainty and get rid of the feeling or make yourself feel better. So for me, sometimes at my worst, my fear was, did I hit my head, and did I give myself a brain bleed? So I would think that I hit my head on something and then sit there for hours trying to remember if I did. So I would replay what I remember I was getting groceries out of my trunk, and I closed my trunk and went inside, and I was like, wait, did I hit my head when I closed the trunk? Did I hit my head on the trunk? Now, of course, logically, I didn't have any, but OCD is OCD. And I started wondering, well, what if? So I would sit on the couch and replay over and over again to check to see, and it would just be a constant looking for that certainty. So yeah, mental compulsions are super tricky, and they're not any less treatable than physical compulsions. You may have to get a little bit more creative with treatment, but in reality, mental compulsions are just as treatable as physical compulsions with cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure and response prevention and all the wonderful treatments that we talk about. And mental compulsions aren't talked. I should say that research has shown that mental compulsions are probably more prevalent than physical compulsions, but because physical compulsions are a little less stigmatized, you watch the news and they talk about hand washing and stove checking and door locks and things like that, that people talk about it more. So it feels like it's more prevalent. Also, the media is a visual medium, and so it's a lot easier to see a physical compulsion than a mental compulsion. So it's better for a story. But in reality, mental compulsions and mental obsessions are probably as prevalent, if not more prevalent, and are more stigmatized for sure. Definitely around the violent, sexual, intrusive, taboo thoughts and themes. So, but that's essentially it. So the reason it's treated with ERP the same way that it would be physical is the idea is to still sit with the discomfort. So if I go back to the example of John and Jack, I think John, I get the icky feeling. Instead of thinking Jack, 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 which may make the anxiety go away for a second, and then the John obsessions come back, I'm going to say to myself, bring it. I want to think about John as much as possible. Just the name. I want that word to keep coming. I hope I feel gross. Come on, John, 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 John. I'm going to go do stuff that's important to me. And while I do that, if John pops in my head, John, 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 I'm going to keep trying to come back to the present moment, and let's bring it. Let's bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it, right? It's accepting that uncertainty. It's letting it be there. It's the rope-a-dope example that Robert gave. And in doing that, OCD starts to back off. And so, and that's the same as with a physical compulsion, right? We're going to resist washing our hands. We're going to sit with the discomfort of what that means. We're going to follow our values anyway. And over time, that obsession, that thought that triggers that feeling that then we want to go do that physical compulsion starts to diminish. And so, yeah, hopefully that gives you some insight into mental compulsions and rituals as well. Yeah, I love that, Amy. 7:26 p.m. Amy wrote, OCD is not a character defect. It does not have the power to decrease our value. I applaud that statement. Is absolutely correct. Look, sorry, Amanda, if I said that quick. It's 7:26 p.m., Amy. I mumble, at least according to my mother. I don't know. She can weigh in. She's here. Do I mumble? This goes back to this idea that this is a disorder. This is a disease. This is not a character flaw. This is not a quirk in our personality. This is a disorder. This is a glitch in our brains, right? And as such, it does not reflect who we are as people or individuals. I always say we are beautiful, unique, are individuals. We are different. We are special. Our OCD is not. In fact, our OCD is all the same, even if it doesn't feel that way, even if it's different symptoms and subtypes and severities. Our OCD, my OCD is the same OCD as Amy or Stephanie or anyone else who's on here, right? And the analogy that I'll give over and over again ad nauseum is, are you flawed because you have cancer? Are you flawed because you have diabetes? Are you flawed because you have MS? Are you flawed because you have migraines? No, you're not. You have a disease and a disorder, and OCD is the exact same thing. So it is definitely not a character defect. One of the things that I haven't talked about a lot, but I have touched on is this idea of, and I don't know that I've ever said this out loud, but OCD definitely masks who we are as individuals. It hides our character. It hides our true character. And this is my opinion. You can yell at me if you disagree, but I think it hides our character. It hides who we are as individuals because we act in service of the OCD and not in service of our values and what we truly, truly, truly care about. So I know for me, when I had OCD, and I have OCD, but when I was really struggling, right, in my 20s, I was a really shitty friend. I was a shitty friend. I never would have admitted it then, but I was a crappy, crappy friend. I made lots of commitments and broke them all. Right. And I didn't, and I was so upset by that because it's not what I wanted to do. It's not, I wasn't who I wanted to be. I wanted to be seen as reliable and selfless and giving. Um, and as much as I wanted to be those things, and in the moments I made commitments, it was with 100% authenticity. What inevitably caused me to, default on those commitments was my OCD, which at that time I had no insight about. I had no treatment around. I didn't know anything about it other than I would get to a certain point, get crazy amount of anxiety and obsessions, start compulsing, and couldn't do what I wanted to do. So if anything, at that period of time, I wasn't showing who I was. I was showing people were seeing what OCD was making me be. And even though I say it's a choice, when you haven't had treatment and therapy, it's very much in control, and the more severe, the more in control it is. So I would argue that OCD definitely hides our own character, hides our individuality, and and uh, and does a really good job of masking who we are. And by sort of pushing OCD to the back, right, and letting it become that whisper, that allows us as individuals to come out and be the people that we were born to be, the people who we are, right? And and yeah, hopefully that made sense. Who knows? I'll live with the uncertainty that it didn't. Um, Stephanie wrote, I at 7:26 p.m. I just always feel anxiety, fear, scare of some people and thing due to my OCD, feeling very painful feeling. I need to take a bath and clean some area once I deal with it. Yeah, I totally relate, and I'm sure a lot of people do, to the anxiety and fear and all that comes with having OCD. And if you don't, engaging in something that makes you feel contaminated or gross, and then wanting to compulse to get rid of that and starting that cycle over and over again, it's really, really hard. And I know it's scary and uncomfortable and all of those things. And the best thing we can encourage is to, visit the IOCDF website, look for resources and ways to educate yourself, access clinicians and treatment if you possibly can. Um, and go from there. But know that you're not alone. Know that OCD is treatable, and you can definitely get better. And we're here to support in any way that we can be. 7:26 p.m. Zayed said, "What do I do if I'm unable to do ERP?" I would ask, and you don't have to answer that here. I'll give out my email address at the end. But my follow up would be, what is preventing you from doing ERP? Genuinely, is it you can't access therapy because of where you are, because of finances, because of geography? If you're literally unable to do exposure and response prevention because it scares you too much, or you feel that it goes against faith tradition or something. I'm just trying to better understand what is your inability, and then maybe we can help problem solve next steps. Beth Carducci's in the house. By the way, I didn't know there was going to be a video tonight. I thought it was going to be next Tuesday night. I get confused too, Beth. You're not alone. I just do what Amanda tells me to do. So hi, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're doing well, Beth. Yeah, it's every other week. It's usually the first and third Tuesday of every month, but I guess now it's the second and fourth. Maybe it's the second and fourth. Somebody will correct me, I'm sure. Oh, I lost my place. I love when that happens. Apologies. Let me scroll back up. The comments like to do their own thing and quickly scroll down. Let's see here. Apologies. I hate when it does that. Okay, there we are. Someone wrote, I think mental compulsions can be worse. I think that's valid. You might get argument from somebody with physical compulsions. I think they're all horrible, you know. And there was a lot of argument early on that mental compulsions are, were harder to treat, because how do you stop a thought? How do you stop a mental compulsion when, but the idea to compulse mentally is still a choice, and it can feel more automatic because it is mental. And so that can definitely feel more challenging. And I think there are times, depending on the compulsion and the symptom and subtype of OCD, where, potentially a therapist has to get a little bit more creative. Also, because mental compulsions, are in our heads, it can even feel even more automatic and almost seem like there's no space between the thought and the compulsive reaction, and sort of trying to carve out that space so then we can make a choice to not compulse can be a little bit more challenging. Um, but it's all OCD and it's all treatable, but it's all icky for sure. So let's see here. So Katerina says, how do you explain to family members that yes, I was really sick? They believe it is real, but not that I was really sick. That's a great question. We're actually going to be doing a town hall and further conversation on explaining things to family members. I'm going to see if I better. That's at 7:30 p.m. Amanda, I'm sorry. I'm becoming lax. Um, so if I understand you correctly, they believe that OCD is real, but that you don't necessarily or didn't necessarily struggle with OCD as much as you say you did, or just trying to better understand. But I'd be curious to know more. You went to residential or at least intensive outpatient. Did they not know about that? Did they send you there? If they had played a role in it, perhaps that they believe there was some severity there because you did go to McLean. Um, but I'd be curious if you're open to giving a little bit more insight. I definitely want to know more, and then I can maybe help you answer your question. I like what Kayla wrote. That was way more simple, which is at 7:31 to Zad. They wrote, I guess the first question is, why are you unable to do ERP and what is getting in the way for you? That is a much simpler question than what I asked. So I appreciate the assist for sure. Um, let's see here. Hi, Helen, from Australia, mother of a 10-year-old. And by the way, Deleuze, I always appreciate your commenting. I just get um I try to look for the questions first, but if you want me to weigh in on anything, just say like read this, Ethan, and we can talk about it for sure. But I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I also not a fast reader. Um Secret. So just didn't want you to think that I was ignoring your insight because I am not. Anyway, Helen at 7:33 p.m. Hello from Australia, mother of a 10-year-old with OCD, limited resources for children here, frustrating, but she's on the right track and doing our ERP at home. Great listening to you, Ethan. Gives me hope. I'm so glad to hear that, Helen. Um, One of our favorite people, Kim Quinlan, is Australian. That's a weird thing to say, potentially, but she's a wonderful therapist and dear friend of the IOCDF and has an amazing um, social media channels and lots of resources. Um, I'm so glad that your 10-year-old has found ERP and on the right track. Treating at that age and diagnosis at that age is really amazing. Being diagnosed and being able to access treatment as a kid really can set you up beautifully for the rest of your life. So I'm so excited to hear that. I'm so excited that uh, your 10-year-old is she's doing better. And also do know that there are, I know the time difference is difficult. There are resources in the US, if you can't find them in Australia, that will treat out of country. And also, I know that we might have some options on our resource directory. I always get confused in terms of international resources, but we can definitely reach out to some folks if you want some additional resources in Australia. Kim would probably be a great person to ask. So let me know, Helen. I'd be happy to reach out, or you can email me as well. But I'm so excited to hear your daughter's doing great and doing better. And yeah, I couldn't mean it. I couldn't mean it more. Treat kids getting treatment, accessing treatment, being diagnosed early. It is so much easier for kids to get better. Um, just because their brains are still growing and developing, and they're more they have more neuroplasticity and more flexible, and you can really put OCD to bed much easier than, obviously, and that makes sense, right? As you get older and you go untreated, and compulsions become routine, and you're enabled and reassured, and so forth and so on, like I was over and over again. Yeah, it can be a lot harder to treat as you get older. Not to say it can't be treated. I got diagnosed late. I have a beautiful life, and I'm not by no means the exception. And And there are hundreds of people, millions, thousands, just like me. But yeah. Uh, let's see here. Challenges. So much good conversation, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I love that, Kayla. At 7:36 p.m., OCD is not who I am, but a problem I have. Yeah. Grayson's book, Freedom from OCD, is sort of a Bible that can take you through understanding what OCD is, ERP. And so, if you're someone at home struggling to access treatment and therapy, Freedom from OCD is extremely highly recommended. Um, Sorry, I read someone's comment about a bad beard. This is not a beard effect. This is real, really. It's actually just a bad beard. It's not even. I mean, I wish I could. I wish I could say that it was a beard effect, but it's really just a bad beard. But anyway, Freedom from OCD. Amanda will try to throw a link up in the chat if you want to check out the book. But it's a damn good book. And so if you're looking for resources and a better understanding of potentially what you're going through, I highly recommend it. At 7:37 p.m., Vanessa asked, "Can you please explain what blasphemous thoughts are like? I feel like there is a whole different person in my head telling me things I don't believe in my heart." Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's a beautiful way to explain it. Um, so, and sorry, Amanda, you're probably looking for a link. 7:37 p.m. Vanessa. So, I think to answer this questions, and I don't want to give out specific blasphemous thoughts. I think you describe them, but what we have to think about is OCD in and of itself. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. OCD in and of itself is ego dystonic, meaning it goes against our values, which you said perfectly, right? You have all of these thoughts in your head that go against everything you believe in your heart. And that is a classic sign of OCD, right? It attacks the things that we care about most. It attacks the things that we hold dear, whether that's work, family, faith, religion, sexual orientation, kids. And so the way you describe it, of like it feels like there's this whole other thing going on that's just screaming this stuff that turns your heart and stomach upside down, you know. And I honestly, I'm not sure if I'm assuming blasphemous is of a religious tone. And I have a lot of friends with religious scrupulosity. We've talked a lot about, um, you know, horrible thoughts that they have regarding to, things having to do with murder or sex and their faith, Jesus, whatever. I mean, they've had thought when they've shared some of their thoughts with me, Vanessa. Like, I don't have religious group. Um, and when they've shared these intrusive thoughts about religion with me, like, I don't even think I could have ever thought about those thoughts in a million years. Like, so I do at least understand from lots and lots of individuals that I've spoke to, how gross and unnerving and scary that these thoughts can be. I think the first thing that we have to recognize, in addition to the fact that I talked about that, you know, that OCD attacks the things that we care about, that they are not who we are, as they don't speak to our values. Again, they're ego dystonic, they go against our values. But I think in regards to blasphemous thoughts, the first thing we have to recognize are thoughts are just thoughts. Thoughts don't make us bad people. And you can agree or disagree with me on this, depending, I guess, on what your religion is. But we can't control our thoughts. So at any given time, I can have thoughts about really anything in the world. And but in reality, thoughts are not facts, and thoughts do not define us, especially when it comes to OCD. So I think immediately separating yourself from your thoughts is the first thing. I mean, I could ask all of you to think the thought, "I'm a banana" right now, and guess what? You're not a banana. If you are, send a picture ASAP. But we can sit here for 20 minutes and think, "I'm a banana." I like to call all thoughts "I'm a banana" thoughts, because regardless of whether your thought is "I'm a banana" or your thought is a horrible thought about Jesus or Moses, whatever it is, right? It's still a I'm a banana thought. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a thought. But it can feel real. It can feel icky. It can feel like it's a part of who you are. It can feel and then you start to question, well, what if this is what I want because I'm thinking it? What if this is who I am? What if I do feel this way? And all the what ifs start to creep in. So I don't know, Vanessa, if I'm sort of touching on some of the things that you're experiencing. You're so not alone in what you write about. It is incredibly treatable, but I know how uncomfortable and disconcerting and unnerving those thoughts can be, and how scary they can be, and how you know how they can make you feel both as an individual and what it can mean for you now and in the future and all of those things. But the first thing I would urge you to do is, if you have access to treatment or a clinician, definitely reach out. The second thing is to, go on the IOCDF website. You can read about religious scrupulosity and blasphemous thoughts and things like that. And examples, you can talk to individuals in support groups and chat groups and live streams and things like that. But most importantly, know that you are not your thoughts. OCD attacks the things that we care about most, and it's OCD is a bully. OCD is a bully, and this is where Katie. I don't know. I don't think Katie is on the stream, but I think that she would have a lot to say here because this is really her specialty in regards to faith and OCD, and how to embrace thoughts that are really disturbing and scary, and at the same time respect your faith values, and navigate that line, right? So you can put OCD to bed and move closer to the things that are important to you, without sacrificing those things, and it's all very, very possible. So Vanessa, hopefully that gave you some insight. But the immediate takeaways are that it's treatable, that there's definitely help and hope, that you are not your thoughts, and that again, OCD loves to attack the things we care about most. And so if you notice those things happening, you can just be like, oh yeah, that's what Ethan said, and so that's OCD, and I'm going to try to just let that thought be there, as scary as it is or sounds. Hopefully that was helpful. And I appreciate that Kayla at 738 wrote, Ethan, I can relate. I still feel like a horrible friend and just not able to be useful to anyone. I'm withdrawn. For me, the morality OCD really latches onto this. Oh, for sure. For sure. It absolutely does. Yeah. And as you can see, Vanessa, individuals are talking about your own. Angela wrote, I have had the scrupulous theme. I've had all the themes. Cash wrote, these minds tries to blank out. So yeah, people are, definitely, what? Ethan will die this week. That's not cool, but it's just a thought. So bring it. No, I'm not going to trigger anybody, but not cool, Cash. I mean, even I can be triggered. Cash wrote, just a bad thought occurs. You do not need to act, and neither does it make you bad. I think that's kind of funny. I like that. And it makes me slightly nervous. So thank you for triggering me. Cash may be the first person to trigger me on this thing, but we're just going to stay with it because it's just a thought. But it's a thought put into words on the internet. I mean, that's more real, right? That's hilarious. Let's see here. Okay, so Katerina at 7:42 p.m. elaborated on my question to her. They don't think of it as sick. They knew I was there and that it was bad, but didn't think of it as sick. Okay, understood. So what we have to do is basic OCD education. I don't know if they worked with your, if McLean worked with your family. A lot of times they do, but at the end of the day, I think the first step is helping your parents understand that OCD is a disorder and a disease, just like any other disorder disease that they would understand makes you sick, right? So education around OCD in and of itself, and then it can make you physically ill, right? It makes you ill. Even looking at me when I was at my worst, I looked like I had stage 4 cancer. I was 100 pounds lighter. I wasn't eating. I was really ill. But regardless, is mental illness, because you can't see somebody's blue or bald or they've lost a ton of weight, doesn't make it any less real. So I think compassionately educating what OCD is, that it's a diagnosable disorder and disease, how it impacts and affects lives. And an easy way to do that initially is pull up some articles, go on the IOCDF website, Look for articles that explain what OCD is. You can look for videos where it's explained. Sometimes it's hard to hear it. Sometimes for parents, it's hard to hear it from their own kiddo, right? But when they hear it from a professional or they see it from a foundation or a site that's reputable, or even if they hear it from a celebrity or sometimes just hearing that third person. I know my mom can say something to me and I'll ignore it all day long, but then some stranger will say it to me and be like, yeah, you're right, I should do that. So, the first thing is compassionate education. I know it can be easy to get frustrated with your parents for not understanding everything that you've gone through, but calmly approaching it, understanding that there is a lot of lack of understanding around OCD, and that it doesn't make them bad people. They just don't know what they don't know. And so, gathering resources to help them to help you explain to them what OCD is, how it impacts people, how it impacts you, how it disrupted your life, and where you are today, and how McLean made you better. And I would also suggest not only looking for things that you can show them to read, articles, videos, etc., but write it out for yourself and approach your parents at a time where you're not struggling or feeling emotionally one way or the other, where you're feeling very neutral and even. So you can go to your parents and say, you know, I know you feel this way. It's important to me that I want you to understand more about what I've been going through and what I have and how it impacts me. I don't need you to do anything, but I would love to share some of this with you. Would you be open to that? Can I sit down with you and show you some things? And just start there and see what happens. Um, Eric at 7:43 p.m. wrote, "Hi Ethan, I guess nothing OCD does should surprise me anymore, but I started having intrusive taboo thoughts of the blue recently. I have the tools I need to handle it after 5 years of therapy, but it's still a bit frustrating." So, and Matt Bannister's in the house. Hey Matt, good to see you. Yeah, I think that there's two things. I think the frustration is normal, and I think that the frustration is part of the stigma, I believe, because I still get frustrated when I have new themes, and I know I shouldn't, because we know that the thoughts are involuntary and we have OCD, and OCD can attack anything imaginable. And so it shouldn't be a surprise when it does, but it always feels like a surprise. It feels like a brand new roller coaster that I just got pushed onto and have to ride and navigate and figure it out. And I have to take out skills and tools and work a little bit harder than I did before. And so while we can be grateful for the skills and tools that we have, while we can be grateful that we have what we need to do what we need to do in the moment to keep OCD at bay, it can definitely feel frustrating. And as much as I want to sit here and tell you, well, and part of that is stigma, but I have a friend with MS, and she gets frustrated when it flares up. She's doing everything right. It flares up. She can't go on a trip or play with her kid for 3 or 4 days, or she can't, I think it's okay to be frustrated. So while I stand by my stigma statement in terms of us stigmatizing ourselves, I think it's also okay to be frustrated when OCD gets loud, no different than when any other disorder or disease decides to flare. I think it's okay to be frustrated. And we can embrace that frustration and be like, okay, this sucks. But what's interesting about it is we don't necessarily have to wait till it just passes. There's something proactive we can do about it. And there's a lot of power in that. With my friend, her MS flares up. It could be a day, or it could be 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 months where she's experiencing some awful side effect or symptom. You know, how cool. It's not cool that we have OCD, but it's cool that we can take a proactive approach to it when it flares up and actually have the skills and tools. Like, she has to go to the hospital, she has to get injected, she has to do, like, we can literally make a choice here in this moment right now to say, okay, this is what's happening, this is what I'm going to do, and I know if I do this over a certain amount of time, I'll start to feel better again. And that's pretty cool. But you're definitely not alone in feeling frustrated. I was very frustrated last week for some stuff as well, so I feel you on that. It's 8 o'clock. Sorry we ran out of time. I think this was a great talk. I just want to quickly scroll down and see if I didn't miss anything. Wow, you guys came up with the questions fast. Just quickly scanning, but you guys are awesome. Thank you for the. Okay, thank you, Angela. She was describing her blasphemous thoughts. Um, Oh, that's awesome, Angela. I'm glad to hear that you can deal with your blasphemous thoughts even easier than you could. But anyway, as always, thank you so much for the tons of was Ethan in Seinfeld? I don't think I was in Seinfeld. Um, no, I wasn't in Seinfeld. It was another TV shows, but Seinfeld was a little before me. I was in my teens, but but I mean, can I still read your comments, Cash? Technically, I'm dead to you, or dead in general. So I don't. Who knows? All right. So with that, this has been a very entertaining and hopefully educating live stream. Thank you, all of you who weighed in, gave back, advocated, supported. I want to thank Cash for triggering me probably for the first time in 2 years on a live stream. So like, I feel like you should get I feel like you should get like a IOCDF merch gift card or something. Not that I want to make that a thing, but it was awesome, and I truly laugh, and I truly appreciate you for saying that. Love Lana in the house. As always, I want to thank the IOCDF and thank Amanda behind the scenes. Stay tuned because I have some really good announcements for y'all. So first of all, I will be back tomorrow for Lunch and Learn with Dr. Liz and Chris. We'll be talking health anxiety. So if you've ever wondered about my early beginnings of when I was extremely ill and how I got better, I will actually be on the live stream with my therapist from that helped save my life, Dr. Katya Moritz. We will be on tomorrow at 12 o'clock Eastern time on all the IOCDF channels, talking all things health anxiety. So I hope to see you there. Secondly, registration for the Faith and OCD conference is open. The IOCDF welcomes community members to join us for a third annual Faith and OCD conference taking place virtually on Monday, May 1st. It's coming right up next week. You can join us for this collaborative conversation between faith leaders, mental health professionals, and the OCD community. It's $10. It is so worth it. Jump on, spread the word, tell everyone. It's going to be an incredible live stream. I'm sorry, an incredible virtual conference. Yes, words would be helpful. I see my mom is in the house. Aw, Mom and Deirdre showing some love. I appreciate y'all. Lastly, registration is open for the 28th annual OCD conference taking place in San Francisco, IRL, our second in real life since post-COVID. I really hope to see you all there. So the annual OCD conference is the largest national event focused solely on obsessive compulsive disorder and related disorders. This extraordinary event brings together individuals with OCD, loved ones, mental health professionals, and under the same roof with the goal of educating attendees about latest treatments, research, and practice in OCD and related disorders. I think I complained that this was too long of a sentence last time. So I'm going to complain again. Michael Schramm in the house. What's up, Mike? I'm going to complain again, and I'm going to shorten it this time. Anyway, you can go to iocdf.org/OCDCon to check out, and also I think it's /OCD conferences or IOCDF conferences, but you can look at all our run of conferences happening this summer. And register. San Francisco is going to be really, really cool. The last time it was in San Francisco was 2017. I'll give my email, Deirdre. Thank you for the reminder. The last one was 2017 in San Francisco. It was literally my favorite conference. It was an absolute blast. Finally, this live stream is one of many. You can visit, you can check out the schedule for all live streams at iocdf.org/peace of mind. And finally, definitely like, follow, subscribe on all our social media channels so you can be notified when the live streams go live. Yes, my email address. If you want to email me, ask questions, comments, concerns. If you hate everything I said, if you loved everything I said, I don't know that I'll answer. I may be dead by the end of the week. But if I do answer and I make it alive, you can email me at justethan@iocdf.org. And that email is just me, goes straight to me. So it's as private as it gets, at least on Gmail. So please feel free to email me at justethan@iocdf.org. And I'm happy to just give me a few. I'm actually behind on email. So for those of you that are still waiting for an email from me, I apologize. And I'll definitely get to you though. With all of that. And also if you have any questions or further inquiries about OCD or anything else, you can always visit the IOCDF website at iocdf.org. And yeah, twice in 1 week. So exciting. If you're in the Tampa area, I will be doing news. I'm doing 2 news segments for the Sunscreen Film Festival that's happening Friday. We're premiering a short film that I produced about OCD. So if you're in the Tampa, St. Pete area, keep an eye out on the news. Anyway, enough about me. Thank you so much for spending your Tuesday evening with me. Stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the field. Don't let OCD off the hook. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye bye.